it's Mrs. Saul. I'm here to read you another book today. So today's read aloud is called The Salamander Room. And I'm going to give you a little close-up of the cover. This animal right here is a salamander. And this book is about a boy named Brian, and he finds a salamander in the woods. Now, our author, Ann Mazer, does a really good job of using words that help us think about our senses. They're called sensory words. So she uses a lot of sensory words that help us better understand the story, just because we know what things feel like and smell like. The illustrators, there's actually two, also do a great job of showing us with the illustrations how things look. So when I'm reading today, I want you to think about the senses and emotions that Ann Mazer has you feel just by reading or listening to her words, okay? I also want you to practice visualizing, making a picture, a mental picture in your mind or a mental image in your mind, a mind movie, as I read. Now, I'm actually going to stop on one page, and I'm not going to show you the page when I read. I'm going to ask you to visualize. So if you would like to draw a picture of what you're imagining, you might want to pause the video right now and go and grab a paper and a pencil, maybe some crayons, and this way you'll be ready when we get to that part of the story. You can pause the video then too to give yourself some time to draw if you'd like. If not, if you don't want to draw it, you could just stop and think and maybe discuss with someone what you're visualizing. Okay, so it's your choice. All right, so here we go. Let's share The Salamander Room by Ann Mazer and illustrated by Steve Johnson and Lou Fancher. The Salamander Room. Brian found a salamander in the woods. It was a little orange salamander that crawled through the dried leaves of the forest floor. The salamander was warm and cozy in the boy's hand. "Come live with me," Brian said. He took the salamander home. So I'm going to show you a close-up of that page. There's Brian in the woods, and you can see he's kind of squatting down and he's lifting up a leaf, and underneath is the little orange salamander. He's so cute. So I love the way that Ann Mazer lets me know how warm and cozy the salamander is in Brian's hand. Brian's hand is warm and cozy, and the salamander feels cozy there. I can almost close my eyes and imagine the salamander feeling all warm and cozy. I can almost pretend I am the salamander, and I can understand how it would feel to be in a warm hand, right? So while I'm reading, let's keep paying attention to see if we can find and think about more feeling words and how they make us feel as we read. "Where will he sleep?" his mother asked. "I will make him a salamander bed to sleep in. I will cover him with leaves that are fresh and green, and bring moss that looks like little stars to be a pillow for his head. I will bring crickets to sing him to sleep, and bullfrogs to tell him goodnight stories." Take a look at that page. So Brian has brought the salamander home, and his mom said, well, where's he going to sleep? So Brian has made a little bed for the salamander here, right in his nightstand drawer. And you can see the little salamander peeking out of the drawer here, and he's got leaves in there. You can see some crickets on his nightstand. So again, I'm noticing that the author is again using a lot of sensory words. So my sense of sight, my eyes, that's one of my senses, helps me see a bed that he's made here and some green leaves. My sense of smell, another one of my senses, helps me think about what fresh green leaves would smell like. I've smelled that before. I've taken a leaf off of a bush and I remember playing with it, and I can smell it on my hand afterwards. And sometimes I've even held it up to my nose, so I know that smell. My sense of touch helps me imagine how the moss would feel like a soft little pillow. Moss is a green, usually green or brown. It has some different colors. And it's kind of like a spongy plant that grows on trees and rocks and things like that. And it's very, very soft. So I can imagine how that would be such a nice little pillow for the salamander's head. My sense of hearing helps me understand how the crickets would sound singing the salamander to sleep, and how the bullfrogs would sound telling a bedtime story, because I know how those animals sound. So look at that, just on one page, I was able to use 4 of my senses to help me better understand what's going on here in the story. So I want you to try that as we go along. And when he wakes up, where will he play? So again, Mom's asking another question now. I will carpet my room with shiny wet leaves and water. I will carpet my room with shiny wet leaves and water them so he can slide around and play. Oh, so Mom had another question, and Brian again has an answer. I will bring tree stumps into my room so he can climb up the bark and sun himself on top. And I will bring boulders that he can creep over. So again, take a look at Brian's room. There's the salamander. He said he's going to bring in leaves. He's going to wet them because the floor of the forest is often damp. So he wanted it to feel like home for the salamander. So he's going to wet the leaves so the salamander can slip and slide and crawl on them. He's going to bring in tree stumps and boulders, which are bigger rocks, so that the salamander can crawl on them. It's very nice of him, but look, this is in his bedroom still. We're talking about his bedroom. I don't know if I would like if my son brought all that stuff in the house. He will miss his friends in the forest. So again, Mom is pointing out some things that she's thinking about bringing a salamander home. I will bring salamander friends to play with him. Boys and girls, now, more than even the words here, I know the mom said he'll miss his friends, but even more than those words, the picture here, the illustration is evoking more emotions in me. It's making me feel something. So I'm gonna zoom in here, and I want you to take a look at the salamander. Take a look at him. I'm gonna get real close so you can see. Look at his little face. He's peering out a window in Brian's room. And I want you to stop for a minute. If someone's near you, you can turn and talk to them. If not, you can think about it for yourself. How do you think that the salamander might be feeling here? And why do you think that? Go ahead and talk. I'm gonna think. Three, two, one. Okay, so it's really the photograph here, the illustration here that's making me feel something. I can tell the way that the illustrator has drawn the salamander, like he's looking out the window, it makes me feel like he's missing his friends, like he's looking out the window saying, where is everybody? I'm in here, where are you guys? It's kind of how we feel in our houses right now, right? We all kind of have to stay inside more than usual, and we can't see all of our friends. So I can really understand how this salamander is feeling here. I think he's sad. Did you say the same thing when you talked about it? I hope you did. Let's keep going. They will be hungry. How will you feed them? So remember, Brian just said he'll bring friends for the salamander into his room. So now Mom is saying, well, the friends are going to be hungry and the salamander is going to be hungry. I will bring insects to live in my room, and every day I will catch some and feed the salamanders. And I will make little pools of water on top of the boulders so they can drink whenever they are thirsty. So another question from his mom, and Brian right away had the answer. So Mom's saying, how are you going to feed all these creatures? So look, he brought in another salamander. This is what he said he's going to do. Oh, I see another tail of one over here. So I think there's even more. There's some bugs crawling around all over, some little bugs. So he's saying, I'm gonna feed them insects and I'm gonna put some water in the top of a rock and they can drink out of it. It seems like Brian really has things figured out because every question Mom is asking, he seems to have the answer for. Okay, this is the page where I'm gonna pause and, or I'm gonna read and I'm going to ask you to make a mental image in your head. So I'm gonna ask you to visualize. So this is the part, if you would like to draw after I read, you can pause our video and you can draw your picture, okay? And then you can start your video whenever you're ready. Okay. So as I read this page, again, I want you to visualize what you're hearing the author tell you. So remember, use those sensory words, those words that help you use your senses to understand. So here we go. The insects will multiply and soon there will be bugs and insects everywhere. This is what Mom's saying. I will find birds to eat the extra bugs and insects, and the bullfrogs will eat them too. Okay, I'm gonna read it one more time. And then again, think about what you think Brian's room would look like if he did what he's saying here, okay? That's what you're gonna be drawing. The insects will multiply, and soon there will be bugs and insects everywhere. I will find birds to eat the extra bugs and insects, and the bullfrogs will eat them too. So draw right now or think about, what does Brian's room look like right now? Go ahead. If you're just thinking and not drawing, take a minute to discuss it with someone near you or think about it on your own. If you are drawing, just hit pause on the video until you're done. And I'm gonna think. Okay, so I think that Brian's mother is saying there's gonna be bugs and insects everywhere and they multiply. I know multiply means that there seems to be more and more. They keep making more. We learned a lot about the life cycle of some insects this year, and insects lay eggs and they hatch and they're babies and it keeps going over and over. Right? The life cycle of an insect is not very long, so they pretty much lay more eggs pretty quickly. And I think Mom's right. If he brought all these bugs and insects into the room, they would just keep multiplying. Soon there would be so many. I would imagine that Brian's room would be just covered, filled with insects everywhere. Bugs crawling around, bugs flying through the air, spiders crawling. I don't know if I would like this. He's also saying, he told his mom he would find birds to eat the insects and bullfrogs. So I also imagined birds flying through his room and bullfrogs making their bullfrog croaking noises and their big tongues coming out and eating all the bugs that fly past them. That's what I was imagining. I'm going to show you the picture now so you can see what the illustrator was drawing here. Now, if I had drawn this on my paper, friends, I probably would have drawn like so many bugs. But the illustrator did not draw a ton. They did draw a bird coming in the window because he said he would let in birds. But I do see a bullfrog eating a bug. I see lots of bugs kind of flying around on the page. I see his little salamander over here. Ooh, this is not for me. Mrs. Saul would not like all of these bugs and insects in her house. Where will the birds and bullfrogs live? I will bring trees for the birds to roost in and make ponds for the frogs. Again, Brian's always got the answer here. So now he said he's going to bring trees in his room and he's going to make ponds. Oh my goodness, friends, I'm not sure that this is possible. Look at Brian's room right now. He said, I'm going to bring in trees, I'm going to make ponds. Oh, there's actually, it's hard to see, This was like the first one he drew on the rock, or he made on the rock. But all of this here now is water. All of this whole area here is water. It almost looks like the water is going under his bed. So he has a whole pond in his room. Oh my goodness. You know what? Let's stop for a second, turn and talk to somebody, or just think, what might happen as this story goes on? Okay, think about what's happened so far, how Brian's mom asks a question about how he's gonna care for this salamander. And I've noticed that as his mom asks a question and he gives an answer, things are changing in his room. So stop and think, what is going to happen if this continues in the same way? I'm gonna think too. Okay, 3, 2, 1. So friends, I don't know about you, but I was thinking if things continue, soon Brian's room is just gonna look like a forest. I mean, he's already got trees and ponds and birds and bugs and bullfrogs and salamanders. It's almost turning into a forest. And I think if it continues this way, soon his room really will look like a full forest. Let's see what happens. Let's see if our predictions are correct. Birds need to fly. That's what Mom's saying. Let's see what Brian says. We can lift off the ceiling. They will sail out in the sky, but they will come back to my room when it is time for dinner because they know that the biggest, juiciest insects are there. Well, he's got it all worked out. Look, now he's saying he's going to lift off the ceiling in his room. And that then the birds can just come and go. Well, I think so far my prediction was correct. This is starting to look more like a forest. Now he doesn't even have a ceiling in his room anymore, which is nice. It lets in the light, but it also lets in lots of other things like rain, snow. Oh my goodness. Okay. But the trees, how will they grow? Okay, so Mom has asked another question here, friends. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute because this has been going on the whole story. Mom asks him a question or says something, and Brian has an answer. So her newest question is, but the trees, how will they grow? So think about everything you've heard in the story so far, everything that Brian has said, everything that's happened, everything you've seen. What do you think Brian's answer is going to be to his mom? Turn and talk to somebody, or just think for a minute, and I'm going to think too. Three, two, one. Okay, so Mom's question was, but the trees, how will they grow? Well, I think Brian's probably gonna say, now that he doesn't have a ceiling anymore, that the rain will come in and will water the trees, and the roots of the trees will just grow right through his floor into the ground underneath. And, you know, they'll have everything they need. They'll have the dirt underneath, they'll have the sun, or the rain and the sun. And I think that's probably what he's gonna say. Let's read and see if we were correct. The rain will come through the open roof, and the sun too. And vines will creep up the walls of my room, and ferns will grow under my bed. There will be big white mushrooms and moss like little stars growing around the tree stumps that the salamanders climb on. Well, boys and girls, my prediction, part of my prediction was correct. I said that the rain would come in, it would get sun, and I didn't think about all the vines and everything, but he's even saying even more. He's telling more things that are gonna grow. Mushrooms are gonna grow. Here's the moss I was talking about. See how it's growing on the side of the tree? And he says it looks like little stars because some moss, the way that it grows, it almost looks like it's like little stars on it. And you, where will you sleep? That's a good question. Mom has been asking all about the salamander and how he's going to be okay and how all these other living things are going to be okay. But now she's saying, what about you? Where are you going to sleep? Let's see what Brian says. I will sleep on a bed under the stars, with the moon shining through the green leaves of the trees. Owls will hoot and crickets will sing. And next to me, on the boulder, with its head resting on soft moss, the salamander will sleep. So I'm going to show you this close up because it's kind of hard to see. But he's telling his mom he's going to sleep right there next to him. And there he is in his bed. And there's the little salamander sleeping on the little rock with some moss for a pillow next to him. So, friends, I don't know if you realized it. I hope that you did. But the author and illustrator did such an excellent job of using sensory words and painting or drawing these pictures or illustrations in the book to really help us see what this all would look like. Okay? Now, it helped me understand that Brian really loved that salamander. I mean, he was willing to turn his room into a forest to keep that salamander happy. That tells me a lot about him. It tells me he's a really caring boy, right? He really cared about that animal. He was more concerned for the salamander being comfortable and happy than himself. Because, you know, if he's sleeping out with under the stars with no roof, he's going to get rained on and snowed on. But again, I'm not sure this is very realistic. If Brian really brought a salamander home, would he have been able to do all these things? Would that actually work? Could we just take the ceiling off of our room? Or do you think that would not really work out? I want you to think for a second. Are there other ways that Brian could choose to care for this salamander without turning his room into a forest? Turn and talk to somebody. Think about that for a minute. What would make more sense? 3, 2, 1. Okay, well, I was thinking that I think it would make more sense if Brian left the salamander in the forest in the first place. That's its home. And really all he was doing was taking him out of his home in the forest, bringing him into his room, and then turning his room into a forest. So I think it would make more sense just to leave the salamander where he belongs. So I hope that you really enjoyed that book, The Salamander Room, and I hope it gave you some good practice with paying attention to and noticing words that evoke our senses, which means it makes our senses kind of notice something. It wakes them up a little bit. So until next time, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you later. Bye.